entrenched and less willing to move to a new protocol. So we're a global South company. We were founded in LATAM, so our founders understand the issues of global South and currency trade and money logistics. And so I came over here and I started in Ghana and South Africa, and then worked my way up in Kenya. And there's a lot of grassroots Bitcoin education going on, thanks to our friends, across the space in every country. Our approach is a little bit different. As Rosalind said, Satoshi's white paper was peer-to-peer. That's what they said, but I think it was a misnomer, not a misnomer, but he should have clarified that peer-to-peer can also mean infrastructure to infrastructure or banking to banking. So what we're working on is peer-to-peer banking or peer-to-peer infrastructure. So intra-bank transfers, interbank transfers, interinstitutional money settlement. And I also think Satoshi might have made a mistake because he named Bitcoin technology and Bitcoin asset the same thing. So people tie them together and they get confused by it. We're working on the technology side of Bitcoin, meaning how the money is moved. So for us, the asset class doesn't matter as much because we're using something called Lightning, which is instant Bitcoin. So we're going from one currency to another currency instantly by buying basically Bitcoin, moving it across the Lightning Network instantly, and then selling it for whatever currency on the other side. What does this allow? Back to Rosalind's point, it allows for us to avoid the correspondent banks in New York City and London. Right now, think of USD as like Google Translate. You want to go from Swahili to Spanish, from Swahili to Spanish. It goes from Swahili to English. Adoption very, very early, mainly because of regulation. We have to be very, very compliant. We have to make sure we don't get OFAC extension, we don't go to jail. So we have to make sure we have licenses or partners on both ends of the routes to facilitate trade legally. So they want to watch capital controls and travel rules and all this other stuff. It's very, very complicated. But once you have these routes open, we can now do instant payment and transfer. So our clients, in a sense, don't have to know about Bitcoin or have to use or touch Bitcoin on their own. What they're not allowed to do is use us as their settlement rail, moving from fiat to fiat. That's in terms of adoption early, but there's really big infrastructure. There's a lot of companies in the continent and around the continent that are leveraging this at this institutional level.
Okay. I think, so relating to that, I will go to Jason. You're currently building something. You're going to tell us more about it. But how do you feel like you're doing now in the university space in Africa? Are we taking advantage of technology that we have been providing?
Well, it's still early. It's a technology, and so as a technology, it takes time to bring up speed on how it works, just like email, internet. It took a while for everyone to adopt it, and it's just a part of our life. It's still very early in Bitcoin. We're seeing a lot of promise from a few African companies in particular. I think yesterday we heard Consultancy, which is a company that allows people to transact Bitcoin over smartphones, over WhatsApp, or future phones without having access to the internet. So at its base layer, Bitcoin is a protocol, communication protocol. So as long as you have a communication channel and something that you can have, like a phone, or you use Node out cloud, you can transact. In a much worse case, they do the math for you, and you send a transaction over the cellular network. Another great company is Business Q here in Kenya. They're doing mining all over Africa in remote villages, so they're going to cost of electricity down by buying up the excess electricity the producers start getting. So it's bringing down the cost of electricity production, passing on that savings to the villagers in remote areas, and at the same time they're securing the government network. And they go pretty much anywhere, because like I said, as long as you have a cellular connection, you can broadcast to the new blocks out the network. And you can harness stranded energy anywhere in the world. So you go to the energy, you can buy up that excess electricity. Third company that's been really interesting things is the Africa Free Routing is a business that's starting up and setting up routing around, and actually later can tell you there's a brainstorming session, educational effort
Yep, so we have a meeting at Monday, Thursday next week for lightning developers, so if you're a developer, and look at that, I don't know how to handle, and you should get your C. It's just stick one fundamentals, core, like development. Then that'll be structures flying from, around what we teach each session. That's so Monday, Friday, sorry, Monday, Thursday next week, and then there's just never know after that.
Felix, you have been building the core in terms of the education base, but also as a community. How do you think building a community is? How are you building a community? And how hard or easy is it to tell about the core?
Right, on building a community, it's all about the knowledge, especially the knowledge of trying to people, and that's why I say like the biggest distraction in terms of video, that's why I'm going to the biggest distraction is anything about video. So running this distraction now, the evidence of digital media, sometimes it's very hard to navigate something because there's so many examples of the women understand now this is digital doing. But then with the proper digital education, people can seem to start to understand okay, the way I was introduced actually to this space, it was a camp of development. I never had about digital, I had about it very fast. I learned it once and I realized this is not the way, but this is much more beyond making money. Because I'm able to start from personally without actually having to do the bank account. So I did it like cruise and I had to learn and go into the article, watching some videos on YouTube, and then realize that it's much more beyond trying to just make money. So getting the information right to the people is the first step. That's why we're saying you're not looking into the whole board of structure. We are looking into the grassroots development, developing be it education, be it entrepreneurship. So the first thing is getting the right information. People go first of all, and then some of the students you see we have several education platforms like Paul, once somebody has gone through this digital education platform, and they really learn digital competency, digital competency. You find that it's very hard for them to come out of that space and now manage other things unless maybe they are manually on. Might be able to do some other project that we try to quickly make money out of that. But then if somebody was going to do that, maybe I usually say that building is a passion project for what we're doing for a living. So if you have a way of earning and then learn beauty processes as a passion project, you amplify that with the knowledge you have, like a beauty for but then suddenly the beauty process, probably down with size, no one's done that, probably figure out in the other that are coming. So ideally, when you're building a community and people have little understood the right information about beauty, it becomes very, very easy to even expand into. So we are really heavy on education, and that is the only easiest way to actually tell people the right information about digital and potentially scale up.
Okay. I think that gives us a lot to do. So just a reminder, if you have any questions or anything you want to say, just shoot up your hand and I'll pick you.
I have a question for Ryan. I don't understand because there's so many blockchains.
Yes.
Solving different parts of the dilemma. And then on top of that, there's different use cases. But why Bitcoin for settlement layer on cross-border transfer? Because at the end of the day, I would assume it's about network effects. And you know, if you look at Solana, maybe Avalanche, they have a lot of wallets on them, and if you create a P2P transfer product, I think it will beat out Bitcoin. So then why Bitcoin for cross-border P2P?
Well, I guess before we were leveraging less the PDD side and more the DDD side, so moving institutional settlements. But either way, it applies the same. The only reason we're not focused on the PDD side is it's just a lot harder to gain traction, as well as there's so many payments companies out there. And what we find is that almost all payment companies are solving the same issue, but still building on the same legacy rails. Right? So whether you're Ripple or they're all still settling back onto Visa, MasterCard, whatever the offers, right? So with the Lightning side, it allows us to move any amount of value for nearly free. So it's very low cost. What it costs though is infrastructure, and you have to tie up liquidity on both sides. But once you have this liquidity, which is what we saw, right? We hold liquidity for our clients, meaning we fund the channels, and then we want to send money to instant transfer value. So we solved that issue Lightning, where if you want to run your own Lightning node, you have to open up a node, you have to fund your channel, you have to lock up liquidity in order to use Lightning. Well, we solved that for institutions level, where they don't have to put any liquidity in beforehand. And then with Bitcoin, it's the most interoperable network in the world. So a lot of people think that Bitcoin Bitcoin is this right here, and this is Bitcoin. The trigger you guys see this meaning, right? That's supposed to be BTC, and this is crypto. Right? That's what people think in terms of volume. Actually, it's the opposite. This is Bitcoin, and this is crypto here. So Bitcoin has the largest liquidity pool in the world. It also is an interoperable network. So when it comes to institutions and banks, are you going to get China to reuse the US database? No. Are you going to get US to reuse the Chinese database? No. So Bitcoin is interoperable, owned by no one, open source network. So we believe that it's a fail-safe to all these other projects that are built on legacy rails or their legacy system, fiat system replacements, right? So they're network replacements, but they're not changing the settlement problem, which is what we're focused on. That makes sense?
Can I jump in real quick? So you mentioned trilemma. In case anyone doesn't know, trilemma has three legs, right? It's security, it's decentralization, and scalability. Right? Bitcoin sacrifices on scalability at layer one to ensure that your money is the most secure money you can have, right? And then the most centralized, so no one can come and attack it. So that's where Bitcoin optimizes. These other protocols, they might sacrifice security. I don't know about you, I don't want secure money, I want my money to be as secure as possible, right? So that's some sacrifice. And then Bitcoin adds layer two, where you can make other trade-offs to have more faster speed, so that's very scalable on layer two. Whereas money itself, the base layer, is the most secure it can be, and the most decentralized to protect that over time.
I have a question.
So
when you see economy, I don't think it's just about wallet. And when you try to build on other things, certainly I'm actually by profession. So there are a lot, there's other aspects of the economy that are supposed to be, on blockchain as a whole. What other protocols do you have that help us do that? Because I understand for Ethereum there is one sorry to mention the one for the consultancy like ours, and how we things like geotagging, capability to have like IoT, within your tech, or within customers require IoT. So personally, as you have IoT and you have the software capabilities, is there like a protocol that could help us help us do that? Because when we say everyone have talked about and everyone say anything about privacy, wallet and money and altcoins, but what about the other things that are actually aspects of an economy that help us actually build an economy?
I'll begin by breaking down the different aspects of the Bitcoin and asset as the application protocol. So in terms of the base their settlement, we need to appreciate that it serves and functions are not necessarily all functions. So if you talk about, for example, IoT and so those should be what needs to do to serve specific purposes. Because we sometimes in the idea aspect of this, it's that you think blockchain or rather like the Bitcoin solution can be applicable to everything. That's not necessarily true. If we use it for settlement specifically, if you use it and apply it in a case of say savings or travel or credit, it can operate in those specific aspects. But as for integrating across different, let's say for agriculture, healthcare, and things that may need secondary solutions, then it's important to break down those secondary solutions based on the problems that. So let me talk about problem like discharge and Bitcoin help that as a, as a capacity in the car.
So you're saying that what?
Discharge time.
So discharge time is also what is happening. We need to check that the patient has gone through the full treatment, right? We need to make sure that they got the medication and if they're using, say, insurance or whatever mode of payment to clear so that they can be used for hospital. You realize that there are several departments that have to communicate. So in this case, you cannot just say, okay, consultancy because it's a hospital process, right? In agriculture, if I'm exporting avocados and I'm exporting eggs, I need to pass through quality checks. People will not necessarily reduce certain rapidly. But when it comes to the payment aspect and I opt to pay into other matches, then in that aspect it solves it, right? When it comes to say IoT for different data sets and information, then it applies to the additional system that make efficiency work for different contexts. So that's how I think about people when becoming an enabler rather than silver bullet to take care of all the problems. Because honestly,
and I say like what I'm talking about is IoT backed by a smart contract, right? So in case of an accident, like an automotive insurance, and then you have this IoT case in your car, in case of an accident, you should get a smart contract, tell the protocol, and then you pay money. You could do that at Bitcoin, you could do that at any other platform. I'm asking if there's a protocol at any basis because also it's very new. And sometimes it's new away from the regulation in itself, the technique itself have to understand it properly so that they can be able to. And then also remember that for the user, they're never going to care what the technology is right for you, so nobody needs to know all that. But like on the other side, they're going to need to have like a system they can trust on, because imagine in the case of an accident that's very vulnerable as well, and it has to be detailed. So is there like something that the protocol can follow up that would enable us to have the skills? That's what I'm asking.
So I'll answer that. I think there is a protocol, and then Satoshi protocol. Satoshi the Bitcoin protocol as defined in the white paper, that was to be massively scalable. So that's the protocol, and we should look into that.
Is that required storage?
For
data storage?
Not necessarily. Even like the utility capability. Just building it right away from what I would call as a solution, what other people would call as a solution. How do we get there?
Challenge that like we're early phase. Yeah, I was going to suggest RV and environment, but then I think it was the more better for like. But geotagging would make sense if it is, because geotagging would be like frequently updating.
Yeah, every 5 seconds.
Looking at it as a currency in terms of like in Kenya wherever I am, I can use it. Let's say I don't have to have cash. So because many people are only buying Bitcoin, whereby I don't have Kenyan shillings cash, but I have crypto. I could be in Tanzania, something happens. It means can you have these hospitals linked to cryptocurrency? I can pay with my crypto. So it doesn't mean which departments I access. At the end of the day, the billing that I'm able to convert that cost to the crypto. And that's what I think, if I got it correctly, because that's how it shapes down the economy. And it also helps cross-border, whereby instead of changing the currency from dollars or maybe Tanzanian shillings to Kenyan shillings, but I have crypto, maybe I did a trade in the US and I added a coin, I can use it to access actually some of the necessities of what services. And I think you touched most of these ones, like in an emergency case, like healthcare, you don't have a bank nearby, or wherever you are, you can actually use that and actually access. I guess that's the concept you got.
I think that's more of an adoption case because right now we don't have like so many facilities that do access Bitcoin and a lot of payment. But of course, in most of the restrictions of the areas, there is Bitcoin. And for example, Kenya, we have a lot of facilities that do access Bitcoin. So that's why actually, sorry? Not really like cost of facilities, but we have a number of outlets that access Bitcoin as a number of people today. Especially in Europe, but I think that's more an adoption case, and that's where education comes in. So as we educate people on what Bitcoin is, I think it's very key also to educate people or businesses on how to access Bitcoin as a mode of payment, and how they can really mitigate risks that come along accessing Bitcoin. For example, when it comes to volatility side of it. Because a lot of merchants fear accessing Bitcoin because of volatility issues. So actually, I know someone is working in a solution now where they
asset to asset without the parties having to take care of it.
Again, there's a key aspect connected to this, and just to answer the question on currency, one element we take for granted is the impact of politics on business and trade, right? Because in the last decade or so, we've seen a greater disparity between policy and the implementation on the business side. So Bitcoin can give an unfair advantage to businesses whereby if merchants agree as independent parties to settle their transactions, they can settle that without waiting for now the political side of currency agreement, currency settlement, unification, and we've seen these things take their highs and their lows. The second element that's unspoken and also has a huge impact on business is debt. That the macro policies as they impact debt will definitely impact the cost of doing business further along the line. So why Bitcoin instead of using, say, for example, fiat currencies? If you can create your own reserves, if you can create your own savings and assets and use BTC as the asset in reserve and in your own long-term strategy, it gives you an unfair advantage as compared to, for example, instruments like bonds, money market funds, and other traditionally accepted forms of having, say, assets in a business. And this also includes property, right? And that may or may not be workable for some businesses, which might require like having physical assets, land, and real estate, and so on and so forth. One good example I'll encourage us to study is the rise of El Salvador as a nation that has taken up Bitcoin adoption. And just as you mentioned that, for example, earlier on with what can be replicated, they have taken Bitcoin as legal tender. That was step one. Step two was them actually accumulating a specific reserve of Bitcoin that they can hold as a reserve currency, and it's already giving them an advantage in their bond market, like their bonds are gaining value. So give El Salvador, say, 10 years, and we will see other countries saying, oh my goodness, we do not have any Bitcoin reserves when we start, let's just hold Bitcoin. And the nations will also just get to figure out what strategy works for them in terms of should we have this as a reserve currency or do we have this as legal tender, right? Because they've already seen the model as it's working out. They will not need to have too much of new regulations coming up, but what we're already seeing with even countries like, there's a few states in the US that are giving custodial rights, and for like miners who are operating like rigs and all that, they have the right to custody their own Bitcoin and things like that. So you'll find that in the legal space, there is more work to be done to enable institutions to hold their own Bitcoin. And with the same thing with the Securities Exchange Commission, SEC, enabling a few institutions to hold Bitcoin in trust for others. That's another way that currencies, I think, or other countries will have, that relationship to be able to speak to some of these institutions to hold Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Can I have one
No, guys, I'm so sorry. It's 1:45. I literally need you to eat because I have other sessions. I'm keeping you here late until 10 p.m. I decided to stand here because Sharon was just smiling and I've gone twice. So I know that sessions are interesting. Please reach them out on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for being our panelists.
Oh, thank
Please
you.
give them a round of applause, guys. I know you're hungry. Food is waiting for you. Please eat. I will see you back at the session in exactly 45 minutes, alright? Thank you, Sharon.
Mine is so great. I just wanted to hear your opinion on Bitcoin ETF. Bitcoin I was not fired.